What's up, my wizards? Dev from the place with the decks, although we got something slightly different for you today. This is the top 10 cards in Standard right now. Well, Worlds happened a little while ago, and then BFZ came out, and freaking Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar happened, States happened. We got a pretty good idea of what's going on in the format right now, and what the most dominant decks are. We just did the top 5 decks in Standard. I think it's only prudent we do the top 10 cards in Standard. Number 10 is lands, which I know might kind of seem like cheating right off the bat, but lands are so important to this Standard that you have to mention them in a list like this, honestly. We've never really been able to fetch for 2 different colors of mana in Standard before. That's a thing that Modern and Legacy players do, and we finally get to join the fun in Standard, and it means that we can play 4 and 5 color decks really consistently. All 5 colors are available to us right now with the way the mana bases are. Not to mention we've got, the person lands, we've got the pain lands, we've got the tri lands. Just lands are so deep and rich right now in the Standard that a lot of what we play in the format wouldn't be available without the land base that we have. So it's vital that we mention them here. Number 9, I'm going to cheat again, but this is the last time I'll cheat here. I just couldn't decide between Crackling Doom and Kolaghan's Command, both very important for the same deck. Jeskai Black or Dark Jeskai, whatever you prefer. I think Dark Jeskai just sounds so awesome, but anyway, whatever you prefer. Just both very important to this deck, and Crackling Doom is probably maybe the better card, only slightly, just because it keeps creatures like Ojutai and Silumgar the Drifting Death in check. If it weren't for Crackling Doom, Ojutai would maybe be like in the top 5 cards in Standard right now, and he's still a very important card. As a matter of fact, Jeskai Black will occasionally play a 1-of copy of him. He's in Esper control, sometimes as a 1-of. He's in blue-white control occasionally, but he's so occasional I wasn't sure about his inclusion on the list at whole. But these 2 cards are always in Jeskai Black. And we see the Abzan Red deck popping up every now and again, and it plays Crackling Doom and Kolaghan's Command as well. Kolaghan's Command, super duper good. Everything it does is amazing, getting you back your Hanger back, getting you back your Jace, any important creatures, Soulfire Grandmaster that you might need. Disrupts against control by making them discard, kills small aggro creatures, and busts opposing Hanger back walkers. Everything the card does is good in this Standard, and they're the whole reason to play a deck like Jeskai Black, so they're gonna make the list. Number 8 is Tasigur the Golden Fang, one of my favorite creatures in the last few years, honestly. I love the way this guy functions. He's important for what little Sultai control decks there are out there, but Abzan will play him an awful lot of the time, and obviously Dark Jeskai will play him more and more these days. The deck that we saw at Pro Tour BFZ ran 3 whole Tasigurs, because they're just starting to realize how important the card is for the deck. He's a threat in and of himself. He usually gets played for 1 or 2 mana, sometimes 3, but often just the 1, and his ability is absolutely nuts. This guy sees play in Modern and Legacy and obviously Standard, so he deserves a place on my list. Number 7 is Ojutai's Command. I think Ojutai's Command is definitely one of the most important cards in the format. Again, Jeskai, one of the most important decks in the format, plays this card all the time. And not only that, but the blue-white control deck plays it, Esper control plays it. It's just in so many different things right now because it gets your Jace back. That's what it does in 9 out of the 10 decks that it's in. But it's so versatile, and it almost always has something to do for you at any point in the game, especially if you're playing these small, very impactful creatures like Jace or Soulfire, that Ojutai's Command has really taken its place as one of the top cards in the entire format. Number 6 is Atarka's Command. It doesn't really have the versatility of the last couple of cards I've talked about, but it makes a deck something all on its own. It makes a deck a thing by itself, Obviously, Atarka Red, the deck is named after the card. You think it's named after Atarka the Dragon. It's named after Atarka's Command, because that's the whole reason the deck was playing green for a while. This and become immense. Really, this makes the deck tick on its own. It's the entire reason to play that deck. And sure, Jund plays it too. There's a Jund Elves deck that's up and coming that really makes good use out of this card. And a 4-color Elves deck that I've seen a couple of times that makes good use of this and Dramoka's Command. That deck is hilarious. But in any case, Atarka's Command, again, just the best aggro deck in the format is the best aggro deck in the format because of this card. Number 5 is Den Protector. Definitely the driving force behind Green-White Megamorph, but, it's in so many other things. This is an important card in Abzan decks, obviously. Abzan will sometimes play a full 4 copies of this card. The Abzan decks that Pro Tour BFZ did. Decks that play green will find room for at least a 1 or 2 of Den Protector. And Abzan has found room for all 4 of them. And Green-White Megamorph, obviously, has found room for all 4, too. The card just is that good. There's no reason not to play this in a green deck. Number 4 is Siege Rhino. Maybe slipping a little bit from the last time we did this list, but Siege Rhino is still an important card that a lot of decks have, sideboard and even main deck options against because they're so bad against Siege Rhino. Channel Fireball just did a video with LSV the other day. Was printing Siege Rhino a mistake? And when we're talking about whether or not it was a mistake to print a card in Standard, I think that means the card is powerful enough to make this list. It doesn't make Abzan a thing on its own or anything, but it contributes an awful lot to making Abzan good. And Abzan probably wouldn't be anywhere near the deck it was without a card like Siege Rhino. Just very, very, very incredibly efficient cost for what it does. 4 mana for all of this is just absolutely unbelievable. And it's probably one of the most efficiently costed creatures we've seen in Standard in the last few years. And Siege Rhino is obviously a card that has shaped the entire metagame for the past year and a half, something like that, or at least a very large portion of the metagame for the last year and a half, and it's going to continue to be that as long as it's in Standard. Some decks have, a lot of sideboard options and even some main deck options to make sure we can take care of this stupid thing. Number 3 is Hangerback Walker, and you can say the same thing I just said about Siege Rhino. A lot of decks play sideboard and even main board options to make sure we can take care of this stupid thing. The thing is ridiculous, way better than anybody thought it was going to be when it was coming out. A couple of people called it, said, hey, this is much, much better than it looks, and it turns out it absolutely is. Usually comes down as a 2-drop and then starts getting bigger. If your opponent can't do anything about it in the next few turns, they're going to have to either deal with a big 4 or 5/5 dude on the ground, or if they do manage to kill it without exiling it, now they've got a bunch of creatures in the air, which is sort of, from the frying pan to the fire kind of situation, You don't want to deal with a bunch of flyers when you can barely deal with one ground creature, So the card is just absolutely crazy. There's no reason, just probably the most versatile creature in the format, the most utility creature in the format. Literally any deck can play the card. He's a good 2-drop in almost anything. You've got to have the versatility, the options to deal with a card like this. And right now, a lot of people are still scared of the card. He's in almost everything, and that's why he's definitely in my top 3. Number 2, a controversial choice, is Jace, Friends Prodigy. I know, it should be maybe number 1, but only based on price tag alone. Remember, we're looking, by the way, at the top 10 cards in Standard right now. Now, I understand that Jace is seeing play in Modern and starting to see a lot of play even in Legacy. People are talking about it, and he's popping up. So I'm not saying that Jace is not maybe the best card available to us right now, and I understand the card is just astronomically expensive. I've seen it for like $100 a couple of times on certain sites, but I'm not going to talk about that. The card is absolutely just crazy. It's bonkers. I understand that. The most expensive card in the Standard format by a mile right now, and Jeskai plays him, Control plays him, both popular Control decks, Blue-White and obviously Esper Control. Some other decks play him. I mean, he's just going to be an important card the entire time he's in Standard, and will probably remain an important card in, Legacy and Modern, sort of eternal formats, Just, of course, he's very, very good. Of course, he's ridiculous. I could talk about that all day. Draws this card, flips over, and neutralizes threats, and allows us to cast things out of our graveyard. Sometimes we get the ultimate off, and he's absolutely nuts, but mostly, we're able to draw cards in the early game, recast the things that we've discarded from looting in the late game, or just spells that we've already cast before, Jace is just, the things that he does make the decks that he's in. Jeskai right now would not exist if it weren't for Jace. I understand we still have Jeskai Charm, Soulfire Grandmaster, and some other cards, but he really ties the entire room together, This is one of the most played, most sought after cards in the entire format, and a lot of people are going to be mad at me for not putting him at number 1, but I'll put him at number 2 just because I'm slightly salty at him. And B, I think that as far as Standard, just the little bubble, the little world that is Standard right now, there probably is a better card. Number 1 is Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. Now, at Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar, almost every deck in the top 8 played this guy. The 2 Dark Jeskai decks didn't, but I definitely think that Dark Jeskai might end up dropping that Sark and the Dragon Speaker and playing at least one copy of Gideon. Gideon is just that good in the format right now. I think he's better than Elspeth's Son's Champion by a mile, which is what he's always getting, compared to. The fact that this can come down at least 2 turns earlier than Elspeth, if not more, because decks that want to play a card like this aren't going to get a land drop every single turn onto the 6th turn like they would need to play Elspeth on turn 6. This, you can reliably play on the 4th turn, and at that point, an entire world of options are open to you. Do I want to buff my entire team? Do I want to make this guy big? Do I want to create a little dude for absolutely no loyalty, which is very, very cool? You know, in every deck that he's in, this guy sees playing mid-range, he's playing aggro decks, you know, certain aggro variants, and he's playing things like Jeskai tokens, he's playing control as a finisher. He's just in literally every deck that can make white with just no apologies, you know. Like I said, he's not in Jeskai black, but I'm not really sure why. He's just such a potent finisher that, you know, no matter what point of the game you're in, he can either make all your dudes bigger if you're playing an aggro deck or a mid-range deck, even with a huge board state, you know, something like green-white Megamorph. He can be huge for you in control, and in control he can make little guys for you. He can also extend your board state. He can extend the game by making small chump blockers, or maybe creatures that'll give you, you know, slight combat advantages over the long run, making a bunch of wolves or making a bunch of allies. In any case, just everything he does is good at literally all points of the game, depending on what your board state is. And all the decks that play him right now, which is, you know, any deck that has white available, is going to be able to exercise every single one of these options on turn 4 and up, you know. And so I just, like, right now I think like a green-white deck that just plays like Rampers to make sure it can play Gideon on turn 3, so he can get its Gideon out before the other decks get their Gideon out. Like, there maybe is some credence to that philosophy. Gideon is that important in the format moving on, I think, you know. He wasn't... Everyone knew he was good. Like, he was up to like $50 at the start of this video, you know, when I started making this video. He might go even higher than that. I don't know if he'll get to Jace levels, but Gideon, in my opinion at least, from what I've seen of results, is that important in the format. Like I said, I'll say it one more time, just to sound like a broken record. Literally every single thing he does is amazing, and everything he does is amazing at his mana cost. Only 4 mana for this, and the loyalty he starts at, like, the thing is a steal. Maybe one of the best Planeswalkers ever printed, and I'm not even joking. So that's how we think of Standard right now. Let us know how you think. I know that every time we do a video like this, we miss everyone's favorite cards, and I apologize for that. But let us know how you feel in the comments. If you enjoyed the content, I hope you did. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out these other videos. You haven't seen the top 5 decks in Standard right now, check that out. We just did it the other day. And I've got a modern deck tech coming up for you next time. I don't do those every day, but I saw a modern deck the other day that I just fell absolutely in love with, and I've got to do it. And you know, if you've been following the channel, you know my taste in modern decks. It's always something silly. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't done it yet, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, my wizards.